Devil Hunters Chainsaw Man chapter 154 titled All Pets Only Have Me Saying One Thing. I told you so about Fumiko, but what are we talking about? Well, let's go ahead and take it from the top as we begin with Nayuta taking control of more people and causing a mass conflict around Denji in order for him to get away. However, after utilizing 3 chains, she realizes she can't send out anymore and asks Fumiko for help. So before we talk about Fumiko real quickly, as if this wasn't obvious enough, Makima is stronger than Nayuta. How do we know this? Well, because we learned in this chapter that little Nayuta can only send out 3 chains at once compared to Makima. Towards the very end of Chainsaw Man Part 1, we see her with a plethora of chains controlling many public safety devil hunters, quite essentially just being a master of her conquest devil powers. Now, this isn't to say that Nayuta can't be on par with Makima, and for the simple fact that you gotta raise up the stakes from the previous iteration, Fujimoto is probably going to make Nayuta on par or stronger than Makima if Nayuta the Prophecy, Fujimoto's one-shot, has anything to say with it. Now, back to Fumiko. Looking a bit nervous, Fumiko snaps on a smile and says she's leaving. Perplexed, Nayuta asks the self-proclaimed fan why isn't she helping, to which Fumiko says that her priority is working for public safety, so this isn't a part of her job, and wishes Nayuta good luck on the mission. Now, what did I say last week? When is she going to reveal her devil contract? Why did Yoshida place Fumiko specifically to safeguard Denji from transforming into Chainsaw Man, right? Because there's so many layers to this, and let's go ahead and start with the obvious. She fumbled the bag. Her job to protect Denji and the task that Yoshida gave to her failed miserably, time and time again. Whether it was Quan Chi protecting Denji and Nayuta, whether it's Denji finally snapping to protect himself and Nayuta, what has Fumiko accomplished? Now, I'm not gonna blame anything on the writing of Fujimoto. I feel like he should do something with Fumiko's character because, as Nayuta said it best, she is quite frankly a diarrhea woman and she's a Fumi fraud, okay?
Okay.
How do we get this backstory of Fumiko telling us the scenario of Chainsaw Man battling Aki and her parents died in the ceasefire of that attack in part 1, and she is not only a fan of Chainsaw Man, but she is more importantly a fan of Denji himself because she can relate or at least see that the invincible Chainsaw Man, this hero of hell that the public image adores and loves, is just a kid dealing with some insecurities, went through some trauma and hardship, and through that, Fumiko can kind of relate or at least try and understand this is why I want to protect him. And there's a lot of good character buildup for that moment, or only for me to hypothetically assume how great would it have been if Fumiko could have died in this particular moment where before Denji turned into Chainsaw Man, now Fumiko says, let me do you a favor and now let me protect you. Unleashes her devil contract abilities, whatever it was, puts up a valiant effort, ultimately loses, and then that could have been one more thing for Denji to ultimately snap and become like this uncontrollable rage of a demon. But that's not what happened. Denji transforms into Chainsaw Man. He defeats the hybrids pretty convincingly. He is still heavily injured, albeit, but with Fumiko standing in the sidelines and then even just revealing her true colors here, it's like, what is happening with the incompetency of public safety? Do you remember this guy during the International Assassins arc? Not only did he lose an arm against the Darkness Devil, he looked at Quan Chi and was willing to risk his life for the sake of the group. We need more people like him back in this story because the incompetency of public safety now is going beyond absurd and ridiculous levels for me, and in the most bizarre take where the grass is always greener on the other side. Now I can't help but wonder, what if the goal Makima wanted from part 1 succeeded masterfully? Yeah, maybe the good guys lose and maybe now she's in control of the Chainsaw Man Devil, but guess what? Hey, she said she didn't even want Fami, Yoru, and the Death Devil to be a part of her utopia, whatever that could have been. And you know what? At least the people under her control, directly or indirectly, did shit to get the job done. What is public safety doing right now? Where the hell is Kajime? Why do we always say this? And look, he could show up at the very end to save Nayuta. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about that. Who's gonna come and save Nayuta right now? Is it Reze? Look, I kid. You know, Reze's gonna show up at some point, okay? Could it potentially be Yoru and Asa? That's most likely what I'm going to assume. Could it be Fami? Maybe, but she's also working with Barem, and eliminating her sister doesn't seem to behoove her at all, and suggested to Nayuta in the past, I need your help and I need Chainsaw Man's help, and I essentially need the War Devil's help to defeat the Death Devil, the ultimate big baddie of this story. So let all that stuff I said marinate for just a bit, and now we'll continue with the chapter as Diarrhea Woman wishes Nayuta good luck. And the thing that sets everyone off in this chapter, as Nayuta was asking her one more time that her family just died, please help me, she smirks where she says, family? What family? They were just pets. Oh, hell no. No, she's on the #1 hit list. I hate Fumiko. She is worthless. She's a fraud. If anyone ever said that about any of my pets, that they were just pets and they weren't families, ooh, you better believe I'm gonna be tapping in overtime like Nanami, and we are gonna have some problems. Don't you worry, okay? The mob begins to realize that a devil has been affecting their sense of reason, only for Barem to come crawling out to Nayuta's side, calling to the mob and revealing that Nayuta is the culprit. The civilians point out that Nayuta is just a child, but the older woman who was first controlled by Nayuta snaps out of her control and points out that she called Chainsaw Man her family. This situation is quickly becoming very dangerous for Nayuta. At the end of the day, she is just a little child. Yes, she is the reborn again control devil, but we do see here, and what even happens later on in this chapter, that she still needs help at the end of the day, no matter how broken her abilities are. A member of the mob says that children who are fans of Chainsaw Man are killing their parents, though he fails to bring up a source when asked how he learned it. And nevertheless, Nayuta hijacks that person's mind and uses him to carry Denji away to safety. Speaking through the man's body, she remarks to Denji about how he thought he didn't need her help before turning back to face the mob. Glad that she's finally all alone, she goes on a murderous rampage, but quickly realizes that she doesn't find murdering people to be fun. So, is this the result of Denji raising her right? Yes, I believe so. She said a couple chapters back, and this is where we started this conversation of how dangerous is Nayuta? Is she ultimately going to fall under this nature versus nurture debate of deep down, she's a devil, but Denji raised her to be a human. Is she going to do the right thing? Or no matter how much you raise this individual in the context of Chainsaw Man, Nayuta is going to side on the fact that she's a devil ultimately and just kill and commit bloodlust because deep down that's like the inner core of her being. But we see here in full colors how great of a character Nayuta is, and when she goes on this murderous rampage that she was trying so hard to convince Denji to do several chapters back, deep down this makes her feel uncomfortable. She doesn't like it, and jokingly and even admits, I actually have more fun playing video games. And it's also one of those reminders as a kid growing up, when you see an adult do the hard things and you do it for yourself, whether it's hunting, whether it's doing hard labor, etc. Now you have an appreciation and even a little bit of a guilty conscience into knowing the person who raised me really has been doing the hard things for me to live a better life. And I'm glad that we see that Nayuta learned that lesson here, but although this is great for her into learning these lessons, she's put in a very precarious situation because now with Denji finally able to escape due to Nayuta's actions, now she is surrounded by a mob. She can only control so many people, and we see Barem pointing the blame towards Nayuta, putting her in a life or threat scenario. But as I mentioned earlier, is this the end of Nayuta? It could potentially happen, but I think someone's going to come and rescue her at the end of the day. But I'm curious to know what you guys think of this Fumi fraud. Has she disappointed you in the way that she has disappointed me? And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this, we did a live discussion late night yesterday, which you can go ahead and click on right here. Take care.